Hello, hello. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Uh, uh, hello, hello. Hello. Hello, Jamie. Thank you for being our first test. For our volunteer. Hello, hello, Nomin. Donuts, Nomin. So this is the first. This is the pilot project. What? No, what test subject? No, it is not a test subject. I'm very thankful for a volunteer. But yeah, actually, I really like your singing here, though. So, thank you, very very thank you. Anyway, hold on, let me change this a bit first. Okay, gonna need a full display capture for this one because I doubt that OBS can capture the VSTs, the plugins that we are going to use as well. Okay. So I heard this just a little bit earlier. Like I downloaded it, but I haven't really delved into the thing. So we're gonna listen and compare it a bit later. Yeah. But for now, we're gonna focus on this one first. Okay. So anyway, because this is like the first ever stream, probably the first time I actually mix in a stream, and also this is a bit different because I'm not going. I don't think I will be doing like my commissions or maybe like my other project in here. So this series hopefully will be focusing on just learning, maybe just doing some basic mixes, and hopefully also that you can probably see the way I do things. I am by no means is like a very good mixer. I still learn a lot. I'm still learning a lot every day. But yeah, hopefully I can like maybe give you insight about some things. Okay, hold up. We're gonna need this later because I'm gonna show you a bit as well. Anyway, we're gonna start pretty quick. Because it's not easily. I will spend like quite a lot of hours on a mix. Not it's not like I will like sit down and like mix for like 5 hours all the time. But usually I will spend like around 2 to 3 hours on the first mix, and then I will goes back to a mix over several days. That's usually how I will do it. But because it's not like I cannot really do that in a stream like this, because first it will not be interesting to look at a mix evolve in days. Also, usually like those several session will be more about polishing the mix rather than like the concept and everything. So we're gonna only have like around 2 to 3 hours to work on this, which I think it should be more than enough. We're gonna start off pretty simple. So for the first for this first mix, we have Jamie Roca, which if you're coming from the future, you can see in the chat, or maybe you can also follow her. I had her link to I had a link to her YouTube in the description below. Anyway, yeah, we have her submission here, which is very very simple, and I think this is probably the best way to start, because we all we have is just an instrumental and a vocal, which is all you need to do if you just started to make a cover. You don't need to make like don't think about like harmony and everything and else. We're gonna go on that later. You can start simple as well. This will be a pretty good cover. Okay, so for the first thing that you will want it to do is to organize your stuffs, right? And if you can see here, I have the reference up here. This is all our Rokas, Jamie. How do I call you? Do I call you Jamie? I think I'm gonna call you Jamie. So we have Jamie's mix over here. So it's not like I have like the original songs here, but you can also put like the original songs here instead of like having it over here for reference. Yeah, hello Jamie. Or you can also, if you can put your references over here, or you can have it on YouTube over here. Though if you have it in here, it'll be easier for you to compare because it's like up and down. Or in case you're working on an original, then you can also put other the references of songs with similar style with yours that you're working on. You can put it in up here as well. It is a pretty something that even I myself should probably do more often. I sometimes forget about it, but I will usually have it on my YouTube, like open on my browser. Okay, this is the first thing. And the second thing is to have your things organized, right? And here the project that we are working on right now is very simple. We only have like 2 tracks to work on, but on many other projects you will at least have like vocals and maybe several harmonies, right? And in the case of a very bigger ones, then you will really need to have your things organized. Why? Because first it will be easier for you to know where is where, and the second thing is to also make sure that you don't go overboard with the further concept that we will probably be talking about later down on the next episodes. But yeah, we're gonna only work on this too, right? So it's pretty simple. The song goes like this. Like let's hear first. Let's first hear how the song goes. Okay. So the first thing that I notice here is that the instrumental and the vocal is within like a comfortable range. What do I mean by that is that usually when you're mixing, you will want to have something called headroom, right? Like if you can see here, this is like the highest, the loudest part of the song, which is -7.6 dB, which is a pretty nice range. So if oftentimes when you're downloading instrumentals online, the instrumentals will be mastered pretty rough. Like it's not rough. It's just very. It will be mastered to the max, right? So oftentimes that it will hit 0 dB even, and that is not a good thing to have when you're mixing. So if you happen to have something like that, then you will want to like lower this quite a lot, or maybe you can add some plugin just to lower it down, right? If your DAW doesn't have a like input gain, which I don't have, but this is fine. Although there is this part which is a bit loud, but I think this should be fine. As you can see, it's still pretty fine. Like it's still -5.2, which is still acceptable. So the first thing that you wanted to do is not mix. No, we're gonna start with determining what's the song BPM, because this will be very useful to set early. So the way you do that is really just Google BPM count over here and use some random BPM counter, then you just tap.
熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっと
Okay, it should be 86, I think. And for clarification, we can set like this, and yep, it's 86. You can see like the lines, like the beat lined up perfectly over there. So the reason you do this is like several plugins usually have a sync to BPM feature, or you can just automatically set the timings based on the BPM. So having like your BPM set very early in the mix will be very useful. Not to mention that you will probably if like this submission, the lines has already been very clean, so you don't need to I don't need to do anything, which actually I've already specified if you want to submit your lines. But usually, like the lines that you'll be working on will sometimes needs to be comped, right? So you will probably cut some part. You're gonna need to do everything, right? And if you do that and then you change your BPM, unless if you set it like in a specific way, usually the timings will be a bit jumbled, right? So it is best to do this early rather than later in the stage, right? Now that you have everything done, now we can actually start to mix, right? So the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that the volumes, the gain is already roughly comfortable to listen to, right? So what do I mean by that is that the thing that I will usually try to keep in mind that if I stop the mix wherever I was, it should already be nice to be listened, at least like so far, right? So if you listen over here, the vocal is just a bit quiet, so we want to rise this up just a tiny bit, maybe 1, 2. Just a bit more.
恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこの中探してきてよ二人前に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる
As you can hear, like right now the vocal sits pretty well. Like obviously it is still raw, but if we were to finish our mixing here, then this will still be presentable, if that makes sense, right? So this is the first thing that you will want to gain match your tracks, right? And the second thing, I will usually just add some compressor. Let's use Molotov. I think it should be nice. There you go.
青しいのと白い息を吐く目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つ境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が 熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきたよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる
Okay, the volume now is much more stable. Oh. So what I did there is I'm having two. I used like two compressors here. So the first compressor's job is to scratch down a bit more of the higher peaks. So if you can see here in the vocals, actually this vocals is actually already pretty nice, like the volume wise. But you can see. So what you wanna do is to scratch down like the half part of the half up. How do I say this? Like the half louder parts. Like scratch it down with quite a high ratio, and then also like a pretty quick attack and release. Right. And the second part, like on this, I'm using like this Lala, which is a pretty famous type of compressors. But this compressor works slowly, so it instead of like just scratching down the volume, it will help. It will let the vocal breathe more, but while at the same time also makes it more smoother instead of like punchy sounding. So having two, you don't need to always have two, but I like to have this as the default. So yeah, as long as this combination works, then I will not use another type of compressor. That's how I usually do that. So my goal on this with this too is to make sure that the vocal is the vocal is stable enough to work with the instrumentals, not the whole thing, because as you can hear, it struggles a bit in here. But we're gonna do something about that later. But yeah, other than this part, like, which is the chorus, which is very loud and very noisy sounding, there are a lot of things going on with the instrumentals there, which we will do with other things. But this is all we do with the vocal volume. So the vocals here is already pretty stable enough, like the raw vocals itself. But be aware that sometimes you will be facing with vocals which is much more dynamic than this one. It will usually be enough with having this too, because this is more of that type of vocal is more of this kind of combo specialities. But in case that doesn't work as well, then you might want to add something called parallel compression, which we will use as well here. Just use a bit. You're not gonna use a lot. Okay, we're gonna add it in here as well. We're gonna just a tiny bit for demonstration purposes. So in a parallel compression, what you wanted to do is you want to really scratch the whole thing. So they're like what you want to do is to really scratch this part down. The idea is that so pretty much like the high and the loud and the quiet part are the same. So basically you're actually like increasing everything, right? But the lower part gets a bit more boost than the louder part, because everything is squashed in this parallel compression, right? So with this you can help like increases the lower part without squashing down the upper part. This is the first thing. This is one way to do it. The other way to do it is to have like an upward compression instead. But upward compression, I think it's kind of hard to find one. that is free. I mean, you can do it with this one, with M compressor like this. So what you wanted to do is to have a custom shape, and then basically do something like that. So what does this do is that it will raises the lower part without affecting like the louder part. That is another thing, another way you can do it. There are many ways to do it. There are many ways to do it. The other thing that you gain with having a parallel compression like this is that it gives a bit more characteristic to the vocals. So it is not so clean sounding, because if you use the M compressor here, this is a digital compressor, so the sound is pretty sterile, so it doesn't affect anything else other than the volume. But if you add this one, especially if the compressor that you're using is have a more grit to it, then it will add just a bit more characteristic to your vocals. Although be sure that if you're using a parallel compression like this, then you might want to adjust things a bit more again. Anyway, our vocals here is done, like the compression wise. But as I said earlier, that this part here is a bit like the vocal struggles a bit more in here. So there are there are several ways to do it, to add to here, right? The first thing that you can do is to use a compressor over, not in here, but rather in the instrumental. So you can add here, and then you can sidechain it. It doesn't work. Okay, there you go. So what did I did is that I am sidechaining this vocal into the instrumentals, right? So sidechaining is how do I explain this? Basically, it is telling the plugins to work not based off of the tracks that they are in, but rather than somewhere else, right? So when I'm sidechaining the vocals from the vocal to the instrumentals, so what I wanted it to do is so that this compressor works when the vocal is on, instead of like this is the original one. Oh wait, hold up. Is it say this? Oh, this is wrong. Hold up. Why is it not working on? Okay, this is a bit weird. Let me try to use the other one. Okay. As you can see, this is how the normal compressor works, right? Like it will squash down the instrumental, but we don't want that. We want it to squash. We want it to duck down the instrumental only when the vocal works. So we are using this route in order to send it. In order for the. As you can hear, like now the compressor doesn't work until we turn on. There you go. Something like that. But by the way, each DAW have their own way of working with sidechain. So if you're unsure how to translate this to your DAW that you're using, then it's best to watch tutorial on your specific digital audio workstation. But this is how I do it in Reaper, and I'm pretty sure the step is pretty similar in other DAW as well. Okay, that's the first thing to do. As long as you're not ducking, you're not cutting too much of it, then it should be fine. The second way to do it is by using a dynamic EQ. So dynamic EQ is like normal EQ. except that it also works like a compressor. A dynamic EQ is like an EQ, but it also works like a compressor, right? This is TDR Nova, which is also free, and the other option I think is also ZL equalizer, which is also free. Like both works fine, but I'm not as used to this because it's still pretty new, so I'm gonna use TDR Nova. There you go. So it's still the same thing. Gonna set it to as you can see over here that it works only when the vocals is on. There you go. So what you wanted to do is have the instrumental duck on certain frequency, which usually is when I'm sorry, my brain is not working. So what you wanted to do is you want to duck the part of the frequency where your vocal is mainly is. So I usually will have it like on two parts, like first on the lower mid, like on the mid, and the second is more on the higher side. This, so you don't need this to only have mid. Okay, you don't want it to cut too much. So you might want to lower the ratio and everything. As you can hear, the vocal now punches through much better, right? It's much more clearer. But this is not the only way we can do it. This is actually more of a arranging part, but another thing that you can do is to have this part doubled. So you can ask the singer to have a second, you can ask the singer to sing a second track, like a double for this part. But if you don't have the luxury of asking your singer to do that, you will need to do it artificially, right? Can have this over here. Send it over here. Then we will just gonna shape this a bit more. Would it just make it louder? Yeah, it will make it a bit louder, but at the same time the way it works is that it doesn't just make it louder, but it also adds some more fatness to it. But the doubler is a concept, so you don't have to use like just a double or chorus as well. You can be more creative with it, because as you can see right now, I'm gonna shape the vocal as well, so it's not just a normal copy of the vocal. Maybe I'm gonna add some vintage, no, origin. Origin.
探してきたよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる伝え方探してきたよ二人にしかわからない告白伝え方探してきたよ二人に
Will it be good? Okay. So like as you can hear here, the vocal now have a bit more grit, rather than like the on the normal part. To make sure that the okay, to make sure that the normal verse part doesn't get affected, then what you can do is you can automate this. Can lower this a bit, maybe increase the whole thing a bit more. Oh, because I kind of like the sound of it with the doubler, but I don't want it to be sounding as loud. Oh. 21. Would it be a good advice to the vocals to send in doubles of everything? I wouldn't say that you need to have double on everything, because it depends on the vocalist really. Actually, if the vocalist, if you know that the vocalist is capable enough that they can like send in doubles of everything, then probably you can ask for that. Because having double is just having doubles of the like main vocal especially is kind of nice, because rather than just having it artificially like the way we are doing right now, it will sound more natural and more pleasing. Heck, rather than double, just try to ask for triple. That is even better. So you have like right and left, like so have 3 separate recordings, which is even better. But then again, it will mean that there are more works for the vocalist. So if you're not sure that the vocalist can do that, then it's okay for you to not ask for it. You can just do it like the way we're doing it right now, or just ask for some specific parts of the that really will be that will really benefit from doubles, which is usually the chorus part. Like this kind of thing is not it's not what I will say like normal mix job. So this is a bit more like a more creative thing, because usually if you were to watch like mixing tutorials online, they will usually becomes a bit more technical, which is great, but they don't really touch on things like this. There are many things that we can talk about, like creatively speaking, when it comes to mixing, but we're gonna limit ourselves to just this for now. There are many ways you can do it. I want to show you some of my mixes, but I haven't really done that much about it, so I'm probably gonna keep it for later. Okay, anyway, as you can see, if you notice that until now I haven't actually touched on the EQ for the original yet, because in my opinion EQing your vocal is important, but it is not as important as the vocal volume as well itself. Because the thing is, listening to something as a mixer will most likely be different whether you're listening it like quietly or maybe loudly. So if you EQ your vocals first and then like adjust the volume after, usually it kind of like messes things up, not with the vocal but rather with your ear, because things that you didn't hear you will suddenly hear, and things that you previously hear you just suddenly wasn't there anymore, wasn't a concern anymore. So I usually will just focus on the volume first, and then we're gonna go into the EQ later. Although I went into tangent and did like this double version, but that's fine. Now we're gonna go into the EQ. People usually have like sometimes I think like there are 2 types of EQ that you can do. Yeah, usually try to EQ. That can work. I mean, I also did that. It's just that lately I just noticed that I will usually just do the volume first, and then I'm gonna deal with the EQ later, because well, again, a good mix, usually you don't want to mess up with the EQ too much, because the more you messed up with the EQ, the more usually the weirder it will sound. The more unnatural it will sound. So I also need to follow my own advice and to not add too much to the EQ. Well, with that being said, there are two ways you can. There are two places where you can put the EQ, which is the before the compressor or after the compressor. Which one is better? I'm not sure as well. I just I cannot really explain, unfortunately. Just kind of go with what I think. What I think will sound better. Okay. EQ is a whole other beast though. By the way, if I'm not going to detail into each plugins and how to use all of it, because it will take a bit too long, and there are so many things that you can talk, even just only about compressor, right? And also EQ is its own beast, and then there's like reverb and everything else. So I'm gonna go with the more broad way and like more conceptual thing rather than technical. And also there are a lot of resources as well in YouTube, and to understand like how each and every plugins work, and they can explain much better than I do. And yeah, I'm doing this mainly because there isn't much. I don't think even there's any like mixing tips for J-pops. So yeah, this is J-pops, kind of like J-pop specific. And I say J-pop specific because like when it comes to pop songs, like metal songs and everything else, they will have their own technique and their own like flavor to it. Like for example, metals, you will probably use a lot of like saturation, a lot of like more analog compressors, and a lot of compressors in general. For pop songs, it depends on which exact pop that you're talking about. If you're talking about more like acoustic pops, like then you probably will maybe be a bit more natural with it. Or if you were talking about like more electronic, more modern type of pops, then you will probably have like auto tunes for artistic purposes, and then you'll probably be a bit more weird with your plugins usage. But for J-pops, I think J-pops seems to be a bit more on the natural side, with some flares like every now and then. Anyway, where was we? Oh yeah, EQ. I'm sorry. We went a bit on tangent.
舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきたよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる見つけてよそっと心に唱え見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる
Okay, so when it comes to EQ, I think the most common way is to have like two types of EQ. The first is the subtractive EQ, and the second is the more artistic EQ. So subtractive EQ works, as you can see, it is we mostly like subtract things from the vocals, the things that doesn't sound pleasing, the things that doesn't fit well into the instrumentals. So for instance, in here I cut both like one of around 300 what was this 400 and also 700. I think it's a 700, yeah, because this is like the lower mids, and which doesn't really fit with the vocalist vocal, which is more clear.
目に映る る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと
Yeah, I wanna have the vocalist to be. I want the vocal voice to be more to be clear and to be bright and light. We don't want it to be sounding too warm on this specific song. So we're gonna cut this a bit more, and then I also add just a tiny bit of here or around 5K for even more clarity. Maybe I probably shouldn't edit this here, but that is fine. Now the next thing is a more artistic one, I think. Well, I usually have like 3 probably. This one also doubles. So I'm gonna use TDR Nova here to make the vocal EQ wise, to stabilize the vocal EQ wise even more. So if you already seen like this one, which is more of a we used the first dynamic EQ to duck the frequency that we the vocals in from the instrumentals, but this one is like the original way of using it. So there are several things that you can do with a dynamic EQ, which we will have here as our artistic EQ. So the first thing that they probably like the most straightforward thing to do with this, to use this for, is to use it as a de-esser.
目に映る景色色は違っても君
Okay, as you can see, like the vocals seems to have like 2 parts, I would say. So the first is like the body of the vocal itself, like around here. And the second is like this part, which usually happens on the attack.
目に映る景色色は違っても
If you notice, like whenever like the vocalist breathes or like have an S, or maybe like on each of its her like phrases, like this part will like pop out first, and then this part, because this is like this is mostly transients and the S's, and this is like the actual body of the vocal itself. So for a de-esser, we want to have this, which is as you can see, it's a high shelf, and then we can set the threshold somewhere around there.
目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない
There you go. So it works whenever like the vocalists have S's in them. And the second one is the rest. We can do what we wanted to do here, but my main goal for this is to stabilize the frequency. The reason for that is that our ear works differently for each frequency. For example, our ear is not as sensitive when it comes to like the lower and the higher frequencies. What do I mean by that is that if this part is like low, we will not hear them very clearly. But on the other hand, like the middle part, even though if it's quite low, we can hear them pretty clearly. And on the other hand, when this part like goes up high, we will also hear this like much sharper than like the lower and the higher version and the higher, which is the reason why if you see like an OTT, like over the top compressors, like this actual OTT, you can see here. And if you see like the under the hood, which you can kind of like Google, I'm pretty sure, like the high and the low, they will have like a much higher ratio than the middle ones. And also if you can see, like the threshold for high and low is much smaller than the mids. Why? Because the mids is where like the exciting things happens, while the lower and the higher version, the higher and lower frequency is more of the sweetener, I will say. Right, so you don't want to squash the mid too much, but you also don't want it to to jump up too high as well. So we're gonna we're gonna kind of emulate the OTT. I'm not gonna use OTT. I'm not gonna use this OTT because it's a bit too much. But we can also use that, which is fine. Depends on the song. But for this song, I'm gonna just stick with this.
目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるああ目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱く
Okay, gonna explain a bit more here. So what I did here is that I boosted like this middle part more because to increase the clarity and increase the body of the vocals while I kind of squash down like the higher and the lower part, not really the high part because this one works mainly as a de-esser only. But yeah, for this song we don't really need this that much like the lower. We don't want to make the vocal muddy. So I let this I didn't boost this part like the lower one, and I also have the ratio a bit higher than the other notes here. Then I adjusted like the attack and the release accordingly, and then we set to go. One thing to take note of is that if you're working with like a more bassier vocalist, like my voices, you don't want to squash this down. This like the lower frequency. You don't want to like you don't want to lower you don't want to compress the lower frequency as much as if you're working with like a female vocalist, because when it comes to bass singer, well, the lower part is where their vocal characteristic is. So if you cut that down too much, then it will sound like tinny and doesn't sound good. Also, the second reason is that this is a bit more technical, but basically you don't want to compress like low frequency too quick for too much as well. So usually like I will have the attack and release a bit longer on the lower frequency, especially if it's like a more bassier vocalist, or if you're mixing like instrumentals, then if the instrumental is more bassier, like a bass or maybe cello. Although that's probably a bit not really the topic of this stream. Oh yeah, forget. Well, another thing to do is to not forget to get in match. Now, if you have already mixed so far until here, then congratulations, the mix have already been pretty solid. One thing that you will need to do after this is basically just to add reverbs and delays and whatever else that you think will spice up your vocals. But so far this is like the basic, like the foundation of your mix, and this by itself has already sounded pretty well. So the vocals has already mixed pretty well with the instruments. You just need a touch of reverb here and there and some delays. But before we're going to that, let's do something that I myself often forget to do. So if you were pretty keen with the vocals earlier, because of all the compressors and the EQ and the dynamic EQs as well, there's one thing that has been brought to attention a bit more than when it was raw, which is the breath. And people usually will cut the breath early into the mix. So basically they will just cut the breath or like lower it before they actually do the mix, but I don't quite like to do that. Why? Because breath is a part of the performance, right? And if you're Vocaloid fans, then you're probably getting hype whenever you hear breath in a Vocaloid like songs. So having breath there is not bad thing, just that you don't want to have too many of them, right? And unfortunately I myself sometimes will forget to like cut it out, but yeah, now that we're here, let's actually do that. So the easiest way and probably the most hassle-free is to just get a deep breath plugins, but usually I don't know if there's any free version of that. So we're gonna do it the old way, which is to use automation. There you go. So we're just gonna manually cut thing. We're just gonna manually cut the breath out. Okay, this part is not really needed, so we're gonna cut this breath out. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this one as well. I'm gonna leave this one in the middle because so the reason why I cut this and not this one is because this one feels more like a sentence. Like this one feels like correlated more than this and more than this to this. So I'm gonna cut this one and this one, but not this one. Maybe we're gonna just lower it just a tiny bit, but other than that. Okay, I'm gonna leave this one as well. Gonna lower it down a bit more though. Maybe we're gonna cut this one. And maybe cut this one. Not really cut. I'm just gonna lower this one. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on the second part here. Then it should be over here as well, I think. Lower this one just a tiny bit. Wait, hold up. Cut this.
先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこ
I'm gonna cut this one. I think
熱くて恥ずか
okay. No, I'm not gonna cut this one. I think we're just gonna lower this one.
熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うこと恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままこのままがいい愛の伝え方差がいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしか探
Gonna lower this one a bit.
二人にしてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界
Even a bit more here. Oops. Hold up.
二人にしか二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと僕のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるああ
Okay, I think I'm gonna cut this breath out.
ああ
Oops, maybe a bit too much. Let's just instead of cutting, maybe just reducing it. So around like that. It's probably better. Okay, so another thing that is good by automating your breath manually instead of using a plugin is that you can adjust which breath that you want to keep and which one you don't want to keep. So you can hear like some breaths are only reduced, some breaths are cut off pretty much all, and some breaths are being kept as is. Like which one? Wait, like this part. Because it is not really a problem. Also, another thing that is if your vocalist is really good as well, then you can probably talk about this with your vocalist as well, as in to make the breath into some kind of like percussion, if that makes sense. So for example, like this part. If you can hear here, the breath is pretty sudden, which is not a problem which is not a problem actually. Just that if you were to breathe like more like if the vocalist take the breath slower and fits into the groove of the music, then it will sound more it fits better into the mix, and you can actually use it as you can say, like a percussion part of the song. So instead of like taking a sudden breath, they can just ask them to take breath. Maybe I'm not sure, like exactly on this beat or something. But that is a much more advanced, and you're gonna need to have a good communication with your vocalist. Or maybe if you're a vocalist yourself, then you can think of that as well. So this is this is something that like you can do with recordings over like live performance, because sometimes all people when people heard that you were recording a songs, usually the first thing that came to people's mind is that you need to, or you're able to perform your singing perfectly, right? Like tone wise, like rhythm wise and everything. But there are things that you can like fine tune with your recording to give your recording your even more spice, if that makes sense. Like for example, like things like this. There are many other things as well, which are kind of hard to explain because it cannot really it doesn't really comes to my mind like on a moment notice. But if I notice things, then I can figure some things out. Anyway, now we have cut off the breath and everything. Also, look at that, we finished everything in 1 hour. This is actually a bit quicker than I thought. Okay, now we can add more reverbs. Wait, gonna use ROM for this. Okay, now reverbs. Reverb is my love and also my enemy. Well, because reverb is probably the thing that like until now I still have like a lot of things that I'm still baffled about. There are still many things that I'm not sure what that reverb do and how to actually use it. So yeah, let's try this. So reverb, there are many things that you can do with reverbs, right? So when you heard reverb, then all you probably know is that it's just an echo or like a delay with some more flavors, which is right. But there are many types of reverb as well. There are many types depending on how the plugins emulate those reverbs, and there are many YouTube videos that has already explained that, and I've already watched quite a lot of it, like over and over. But sometimes the thing that I feel like they lack is that like how to use it and why you use the reverb in the first place. So like personally, I think there are three reasons why you want to have a reverb in your vocals, or rather just mix in general. So the first thing is that you want the reverb to give space to the vocal. So in order for the vocal to not feel so centered, because right now the vocal, if you turn this double off, oh yeah, if you turn the vocal off, the double off, the vocal is like straight in front of your face, which is fine sometimes, but for this one we probably doesn't want it to be. So the first thing that you can use the reverb for is to just make the vocal a bit wider, not too wide, but just a bit wider, just to give so it doesn't feel artificial, right? And the second, that's the first one. The second thing is that you wanted to basically just blend the vocal or the track with the other ones, and this is probably like the most common. This is the thing that probably people think when you say reverb. Like to add reverb is basically to blend the vocals with the instrumentals and to give it a bit more color instead of like standing alone, like somehow in the middle of the instrumentals, right? The third is more of a sound design thing, So you can be much more creative with your reverb, so like making it very very wide, or maybe like adding even delay and then to the reverb in order to make it feels more like candy. I usually like call it candy because it feels like an ear candy. Like it makes it pleasing, but it feels like it is its own elements instead of part of the vocals. Which, are we going to use that? I'm gonna try to add some of that just for demonstration purposes. But yeah, let's first do with the first thing, which is the first purpose of the reverb, which is more which is to give the vocal space. So here I have a little plate. Hold up, let me try to find. Maybe we can. Let me see. Maybe it's charm verb. Wait, what? Why is it not charm here? Why is there nothing here? What? Conversion equalizer. Nothing. Anyway, I think we're gonna just use little plate instead. Okay. So remember when I said that you need to have your BPM ready, and this is one of the application, and maybe the main application of why you want to know the song BPM quick. So you can go to reverb calculator. Yeah. So you can go to you can go to what do you call it, a website like this. So what this does is that it will help you calculate the timings of everything pretty much. So here you have the BPM at 86, right? It is correct. Is it correct? It is correct. 86 reverb. 86 BPM. Oh, okay. So we have it in here, right? So what you can use these numbers in order to have for your like your mix elements make in time with the instrumentals, right? And this is especially true probably with reverbs, and probably this what people use this most for, which is another reason why it's called delay and reverb time calculator. But you can also use it with compressors, for example, and maybe something else as well. So remember that we're going to have like 3 types of reverb here, right? So the first reverb, which is this little plate, I'm gonna use this as the space maker reverb. So basically this is used in order to just to make your vocals a bit wider than usual. So in order to do that, we're gonna need to have the reverb to be quick. We're gonna not gonna want to make too much things here. So there you go, 69 decay time. Now we are it feels like we are in a room instead of like just hearing a recording, like a mono recording. Now the thing that you wanted to do probably is if your plugins doesn't have a built-in delay, which is, you can see that there's a pre-delay here, then you will want it to do what you wanted to do is to add in the delay as well, because the thing is reverb exists in our real life, but because of that we are pretty can I use this one? We are pretty used to listen to reverb. So if you were to not if you don't have a delay in your reverb, then it will feels unnatural and it may even feels weird. So here it is. Can I have it at 5? So you wanted to have, there you go, feedback, no feedback, mix in, output wet, output dry, 0.
君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて
Yeah, there you go. So even if it's just a bit, then it's best to have a delay on your reverbs, even though you only have like a very tiny bit. Like as you can see, like this specific reverb we only have like 12% wet, but still having a delay in it will make it sound much better. Even though it is not as important in this one because we're gonna only have a bit. But it will be even much more important if for like the main reverb, right? For this one, which is, let me name this as reverb. There you go.
君がいる世界と僕がいる
Okay, for the main reverb, you're gonna have like medium length, which I think is around 2.7 second, 2.747. Okay, we cannot be that precise, so we're gonna have it at 2.7. Okay, you. For the pre-delay we're gonna have 44. Oh, my twitchy hand. I'm sorry. 44. Yeah, 44.
君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うほどずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してなんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うほどずっとこのままがいい
Okay, there you go.
なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先
Brian. Hello, Brian.
が熱くて恥ずかしい
You were in
け
Ivan's
ど
concert. Yeah, I was there. Hello, welcome to the stream. We're right now mixing Jamie Roca's performance. While learning how to how my process usually is. Hopefully you're gonna have something to take from the stream as well. Yeah, thank you very much for the compliment. Hello, welcome. Yeah.
愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない僕は
Okay, so oh, the triangle of who knows who. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for your submission. This is a really good one. Let me look for your time code in the. Yeah, I think there should be one probably in the description or the comment somewhere, or maybe like it's in Ivina's like server. We're gonna come back to the mix. So where were we? Yeah, reverb. So for the main reverb, there are a lot of things that you can actually do with the reverb. So probably the simplest way to do this is just basically have it in your main tracks. But if you have it here, then you cannot really do a lot of it. You cannot do a lot of things with it, right? If you have it in here, except if you're using like Reaper, because Reaper have this container, which is actually really useful. Because as you can see, I can add delay only to the only to the reverb. But if you're using other DAW, I don't think that you can do that. So the most common way to use reverb is to have it on like what I did. There you go. Like have it here. Like have it on another track, which is I'm pretty sure it's called I think it's called sand. Like people also usually call it sand, but I usually call it as parallel effects as well. So the reason we do this is so we can add more and more things. I was never spawned at the concert. Yeah, I wanted to join the concert live, but unfortunately I got something like pretty sudden to do, so I got it to. What I did was I recorded some stuff for the concert. Yeah, hopefully the next time I can attend live though. But yeah, speaking of this, here I think the most common thing, the most common way for you to do it is to do like main reverb is to have some EQ and also compressor in it. The reason why is that we want to shape the reverb color, because not all reverb will fit into your instrument, into your mix. So you wanted to shape it even more into your you want it to shape it into what you need it to be, right? And this is especially true if your reverb doesn't have built-in like EQ like this. Like even this reverb only have like very basic like high cut and also the low cut, right? Like very basic. It was 6 p.m. Oh yeah, the time zone, man. Time zone is a very interesting thing, indeed. Unfortunately, yeah. But yeah, like for example, if like let's assume that this one doesn't have an EQ, right? Because even if this have is pretty basic, and I wouldn't really rely on this a lot. So if you can see. You can see like the frequency is quite all over the places, and you might not want to have all of those. For example, on this one we gonna need I want to like shape those down a bit. I don't really want to have too much like higher ends on these specific reverbs. There are reasons for that, but it's a bit hard for me to explain, and I will kind of just say that it's kind of like my gut feeling. But I think the most common way, the default unquote way of people EQing their reverb is by cutting the lows and reducing the highs, or even cutting the highs as well. The reason why is that the lows will muddy your vocals really quickly, especially if the vocalist is a male. So you wanted to cut the lower EQ a bit more than the normal ones. Oh, by the way, we did. Yeah, we want to cut this a bit more. Like for example, like in here, we cut it in 150, right? Like this is barely inside. This part is barely barely below the lowest fundamental frequency of the vocalist, which is Jamie. But for the reverbs, we want to cut it a bit more, because we don't want the reverb to muddy the main. And sometimes I will just even go even higher, like around 500 or 1K, depending on the vocalist and depending on the song. The second one is we want to kind of like lower at least lower the higher frequencies, because it can be a bit painful to hear, and also there is some scientific science stuff about that, but I cannot really explain it. There's something about like how high frequencies will usually fade off quicker than the lower frequencies. So the bigger the reverb is, maybe you want to cut the high frequency even more, but basically it doesn't sound as good usually. Don't just use this. You're gonna need to hear to the songs, and depending on the song as well. Sometimes I'll just cut it. Sometimes I'll just like use high shelf. Sometimes I will just use peak instead of like shelf. Just gonna like peak and maybe cut just a tiny bit on somewhere. And the third general thing to do is to cut where the vocal, like the main clarity vocal is, so that the reverb doesn't clash with the main vocal. Speaking of clashing with the main vocal, there is compressor. Again, we use compressors on a lot of things. So we added compressor here because like instrumentals, like the vocal and reverb is much more tied together, right? And while reverb is nice, we don't want reverb on everything all the time, right? So we want the vocal to have clarity in it. So what we can do is to have reverb sidechained into the compressor and on the reverb. Yeah, basically. Yeah, basically what we did there is to have the reverb ducked down whenever the vocal is singing. And although this may feel a bit like weird, like why do you need to sidechain it? Why don't you just compress it as usual? The thing is, when it comes to reverb is a time-based processing. So like the tails of the reverb, which is actually the main part of the reverb, is where you want things to happen, right? So if you just compress it the normal way, then you're gonna compress like even everything, squashing everything down, which is not necessarily what you want it to do, because how do I say this? Especially true with the longer reverbs. Let's try to show it. Turn to 2.7 or 5.4 or 5.5. Let's see. So if we have like a longer reverb here, so what happened there is that now the vocal is really clean. We can hear it very clearly, while at the same time the reverb still works on the background. And this is special to it is subtle, but the reverb still works for quite a lot longer. There you go. And this also enables you to raises the volume of the reverb without sacrificing clarity of the vocal as well. We don't really want it to be that long though, so. Okay, there you go. Oh yeah, by the way, some note that if you probably like see that I soloed like some part of the effects here and there sometimes. And although I did that, I will suggest you to not rely on that too much, because if you were to stay like in a solo mode for too long, then especially if you just begin, then you will start to, instead of like mixing the whole song, you will end up like just making sure that one track that you are soloing sounds good, which is not always, which is usually not the case that you want it to be. Like each individual track will not sound good, but it will sound good if you're like if everything works together. For example, like this, like the doubler. Like it, if you hear it like that, doesn't it feels like what the hell was that? But if the double works with the vocal, now it makes much more sense, right? So even if you were to solo, try to make sure that you solo just necessary enough for you to hear what you're changing, what settings are you changing, which is what I did since earlier, right? I just wanted to hear which part of the vocal makes the song sounds make the vocal which part of the reverb makes the vocal sounds tinny, which is somewhere around here. Then I boost this up a bit just to add it, just to give it a bit more smoothness into it. But try to not like stay in a solo mode for too long. Okay, there you go. So this is kind of already done, almost done. It's not like done yet. There are still like things that you can do to make them fit even more, but this already feels kind of nice. Now let's, like I said, we're gonna add delay here, because this is like the third type of reverb, which is more of an artistic thing to spice things up a bit more. You may wonder like why are you adding this, because this is not reverb, this is delay. Yeah, it is a delay, but what you can do is you can send this delay here to the reverb, and then you can turn off this. Here you go. So you don't hear the delay as is, but you hear the delay as part of the reverb. And if you like over there, you not as that, I think. Maybe you can skip the master send as well. It does have this as pre-filter. Okay, for this specific delay, we're gonna have the release be quite long. Let's have it as 248. Let's see, can it support? Okay, it can support that much. So for this delay, because the song doesn't really need that much delay, right? So the purpose of the reason why I have the release like pretty long, like 248 milliseconds instead of like the reverbs like 18. Oh no, this is probably a bit too quick as well, like 148. Like having it at around 448 is so that the delay happens like well after the vocal finishes. So for parts where the singer is like singing, or like majorly singing, like this part, the singer sings quite continuously, right? So the goal is for the delay to work only like specific part, like only this small part, or maybe like on like this small part. So I cannot think like somewhere around here like that. It's just a tiny bit, and even more pronounced in here. It is not as it is not as audible in this specific vocal, because the way the song is, it's quite how do I say it? It's quite flowy. But for another type of song, then you can kind of hear as well. Another way to do that is to, again, manually setting things with your automation instead. So we are not gonna use the compressor, but we're gonna only have this work on specific part of the song, like that. Like that. Something like that. It's probably a bit too long. I think it's around 5. Yeah, it is not as pronounced on this here, and probably shouldn't make it pronounced too much. Want it to look loud. Yeah, you can add it in here as well, I believe. Yeah, you can do things like that. Let's make it maybe 4 and 6. Oops. I think it doesn't fit to have the delay here. Maybe just lower it a bit more. Oh, that's just why. Doesn't fit that much well. It's this. Oh. What the hell? What was it? Sure. Why does it looks like that? 248. It's too loud. Okay, I think this is pretty fine. Now there you go, the delay is there, reverb is there. I think it's pretty much already done.
色は違っても君
Ah, there's one more. Okay. First thing first, I'm gonna need to put everything in here. No. There you go. What I wanted to do is to just add some fresh air because I feel like the vocal is still too lower frequency focused. Gonna add in. Oh, what's that? Gonna add in this just to add more shimmer on the vocal. It's getting a bit long.
白い息を吐く目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ
Vocal is too low, you heard. What was it? Hey, what? Vocal's too low. I didn't say the vocal is too low.
指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない
Okay, so actually the vocal has the mix has already been like around 80% done, but I noticed that the S's is still a bit too loud, so I'm gonna add in like this TDSer, which is again oh my god, guys, don't fight, no, don't fight. Now I'm gonna add in like this TDSer again in order to like tighten up like the S's even more. This is free by the way as well. So if you wanna have this is free. You can try to find it as well.
ずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるなんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてる にもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のがいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるああ
Okay, I think this is always has already been done. Just gonna add in a bit more of this this here. A bit too loud. Let's lower this one a bit more. Oh. There you go. I think this has already been mostly done. Gonna need some more adjustment here and there. Okay. And there you go, we have the mix done. This is like so far. There are some things that you can I think you can like improve on this, but this it is, I think if you want to improve this even more, is basic just like arrangement thingy, like adding harmonies, adding even more ad-libs and such, especially for the chorus, because even though I've already did quite a lot of things here, right? Like we already have like this double here, and we also have parallel compression here. We have already added a compressor and more like dynamic EQs here. The vocals in the chorus is still being overpowered a bit by the instrumentals, but there isn't much that you can do with only one vocal tracks, and this is that one has already in the realm of like actual more recordings here, right? Because the thing is, like, I noticed that if you were to like add even more, like maybe I'm not sure, like maybe add even more doubles here, or maybe changes, like do something else on the chorus, it will start to feel weird. So if you think that some part of your mix doesn't sound as full, then it probably isn't full. So it is best to have like more things that you can add there, like harmonies and such and such and such and such. You can obviously use you can obviously create like artificial harmonies, but personally I don't really quite like to do that, and I don't think I've ever did that for my own vocals. So yeah, it is more of an arranger thing, and it's not really a mixer job. But if you're a vocalist and you notices that a part of the songs sounds a bit more busier than other, then it is a good thing to have more tracks like doubles or harmonies or ad libs, especially like this part, right? Like if we have like a doubles here or even a harmony, then things will sound much more livelier and it will fit even better, because, well, just to be fair, this part is designed to be like sounding busy. So yeah, having harmony makes your vocal actually like envelopes the instrumental, so it's not like the instrumental envelopes your vocals.
愛の伝え方探し愛の伝え方
That just in here instead. Nothing. This should be all of it, and yeah, we almost hit the 2-hour mark. Is there any? Do you guys have any question? Because if you do, then we're gonna. If you don't have, we're gonna end the stream pretty shortly. But oh yeah, I forget. Before you finish things up, and while you're thinking of what do you wanna ask, let's listen to the mix from the beginning.
白い息を吐く目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば指先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるああ
And there you have it, the final vocals. And if you see, like, well, while we were listening to that, I still like tweak the balance of things, and yeah, that is pretty common. Because personally, I almost never like finish a mix like in the first day. Like personally, I will have the mix like being worked on a daily basis. So like the first day will usually be like the where I put like most of the bass plugins in and have everything ready. But then like the second day and third day and so on, where I will actually fine tune like everything so it sounds best, right? Because the thing is, like when you work on a song for too long, then your ear will get used to it, and no matter how weird it sounds, you will feel like it is fine. It is fine. So try not to work on something like, especially like on an audio project for too long, because your ear need rest, like physically and also mentally. Like your brain also need rest. Like you need to reset your mind, which you can also do by referencing the original, which we don't have in here unfortunately. But yeah, actually we do have this. We do have the mix by Jamie Roca herself. By the way, yeah, in case you just joined, this mix is brought to you by Jamie Roca. The vocal is by Jamie Roca, which is in our chat right now, you can see. And also, if you want to visit her channel, then you can also go to her channel, which is also in the description. Yeah, this one. By the way, Jamie, are you here, Jamie? Do you want to hear my thought on your mixes? Because we have our Jamie Roca's own mix in here. By the way, a quick mention that we are not talking about like the mastering yet. Yeah. Like this is only the mix and not master, and it is pretty important to not really mix both, right? And even if you want to do, like, if you want to add some plugins to your master track, it is important to try not to put in like too much, or just really just limit it to like the volume things. Jimmy, are you there, Jimmy? Because if you don't give me permission to like give you my thoughts on your mix, then I will probably not do it. Can I end the stream soon? I think Jamie is not here. So yeah. Okay, then I will probably just end here. Anyway, this is the stream, and thank you peeps for joining our stream today. And so it's more or less around 2 hours, which is the lower limit that I set myself to finish the mix. Yeah, this is a pretty rough mix, but I hope this already give you a pretty significant, pretty good understanding on like how I do my mixes. Important things to note is that you shouldn't like copy this, like the process, like one-to-one. There are a lot of things that you need to consider depending on the songs. Like if this is not like a normal J-pop songs, then I will probably do things differently. I will add things that I will not usually use in here, and there are many things that you need to think of. But this is probably like a good starting point. This setup is kind of like my default mix starter. Yeah, it's kind of it. Once again, thank you for Jamie Roca for sending her sending her vocal submission in. If you're willing to be if you want to have your vocal mix as well, and or maybe you wanted to knows, maybe not knows, like how do I say it? If you want to maybe hear like my version of the mix, then you can send your files to the link, which I'm pretty sure which is in the description. I hope I am not forgetful enough. There you go. There's the form, the Google form link, which you can submit your vocals in. Yeah, there are some instructions, but there isn't much like restriction on what you can send. So please send. If I like the I just got a permission from Jamie Roca. There you go. I just got a permission from Jamie to send to check her mix. Okay, this is a bit late, but yeah, we're gonna do this. Let's go. Let's skip here.
青しのもと白い息を吐く目に映る景色色は違っても君がいる世界と僕がいる世界きっと境界線なんてどこにもない舞い落ちる雪かじかむ手と手触れ合えば 先が熱くて恥ずかしいけど感じ合うことずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきてよ二人にしかわからない告白を君のいる世界に僕を見つけてよそっと心に唱えてるああ
Okay, I just see. It seems that my phone doesn't load the chat. Didn't load the the chat here. I'm very sorry for that. But yeah, what was it? Mastering is like optimizing for different out device. Yes and no. Like if you're talking about that kind of mastering, obviously it exists. But what I say by mastering is rather than that is more of like optimizing just the mix as a whole, right? I'm not really good at mastering. There's still even much more things that I wanted to learn in mastering myself. So I don't think that we will talk about mastering too much in depth. Like even if we did later down the line, and definitely probably not in here. But the one thing that you wanted to know about mastering is that all mastering does is that it polished the mix after it is done, right? And the keyword is after it is done. So you shouldn't have it. You shouldn't have your plugins in your master mix like right away, especially early in the mix. Anyway, as for your mix, Jamie, I think it's already pretty good. There are probably 1, 2, 3 points probably that I will bring up. The first is the compressor. Like some part of the vocal is buried, especially like the lower part. Like that, like the nomoto is not really audible, which in my version, like we have like our parallel compression help with it. You can hear over here. It is a bit more audible in here, like not so much, but it is more audible. If you think that this part is not as audible even more, then you can maybe add more compressor here, or you can don't automation. That is probably a bit weird. But yeah, or maybe you can add more of this compressor in. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is the breath. Yeah, the breath is still a bit overbearing here, so it is quite it is a good idea to add automations like here, the one that I show here, or if you have the instrumental, if you have like a plugin to reduce the breath, that is also fine. Although you will have less, you will have less control on that, but it also makes things much easier, especially if on another mix where you have like a lot of things to do, and especially for harmony, because you don't really want to have breath on harmony. You want harmonies to be really clean. But yeah, the first thing is the compression, especially for the lower parts. Especially for things like that, right? Like this part is the vocal is a bit too loud. It kind of like jump out of the instrumentals, so you want it to calm. We wanted to calm that part down even a bit more, as well as like rising the lower part up. And the second thing there's like EQ as well. Like we wanted to calm down the EQ a bit more. like because some part feels a bit resonating, like around, I think it's around like lower mids, somewhere around maybe somewhere around here, I think. Maybe like it makes it a bit boxy, like that's a bit more, a bit tangent. But yeah, the third thing is probably the reverb. The vocal doesn't really blend.
触れ合えば指先が熱くて
Although that's probably a bit more of a personal thing. Personally, I like the reverb to be a bit more wet and like a bit more present. But if I recall correctly, the originals is not doesn't really have a lot of reverb. It's much more blend. It blends much more. So I think this is also fine. Like the types of reverb maybe as well. If I were to like fix my own mixes, I will also like revisit the reverb especially, and usually reverb is the thing that I change the most and experiment with the most. Like there are a lot of type of reverbs. This reverb that we're having, this I think this is more of a plate reverb, like plate algorithmic reverb. There are a lot of reverbs that you can use, and each reverb have its own characteristics. So you might want to experiment the most on reverb as well. And it seems that my chat is not loading again, so let me try to load it again. Okay, no, it doesn't seem to be. Yeah. Anyway, that is my thought on your mixes and also mine as well. If I were to review my own reverb, my own mix as well.
ずっとこのままがいい愛の伝え方探してきて
Hello, Jimmy. Thank you. You are welcome. So, because it seems maybe we're just gonna open my YouTube because I'm not sure why it doesn't. Okay, I'm not sure why my phone is not displaying the chat. Like I think it was stopped here earlier, so I didn't read like the second half. I'm sorry about it. Gonna make sure it is not the case next time. But yeah, that is for today. That is for tonight. If you wanted to submit your own lines, your files as well, then you have the links down in the description, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Ciao. Also, again, thank you for your lines, Jamie. This is such a great thing, and this is the perfect first episode. Ciao, peeps. Ciao.